So foresight work is of course partly about predicting, but mostly it's about anticipating how the world is changing. Then we use those anticipations to create alternative futures. So is the university just about physical space? Or is the university about virtual space? Or in fact, is the university about green spaces? If the environment is so important to the future, how do we redesign curriculum so it's green? Should we only have a listing of the world's best universities based on research publications, or should we focus on, in fact, a green grading system? How is my university green friendly? What is my curriculum like? How much energy do we produce? Are we off the grid? So foresight work comes in and asks different questions. What are our assumptions about the future? Based on these assumptions, what do we change? For example, one corporation we were working with, it was a trucking insurance company. They were doing very well on selling insurance for trucking. But as they started to think about the future, they said, okay, are we in the right industry? Might we be disrupted? Are we asking the right questions? So they started to move from just selling insurance to actually developing bioinformatics systems so they can gauge the basic biometrics of their truck drivers. The goal was to develop predictive systems so we can tell when the truck driver is getting sleepy. The goal is still to make a safer country, but we want to make sure to not focus just on the insurance, but we want to develop intellectual property that leads us using bioinformatics to, in fact, a new type of service. In another industry, they were focused on selling health insurance. But they said, well, how is health insurance changing? So they started to think about, well, people want to be healthier. They want to be in charge of the health. They want to participate in the health. They're living longer. They're changing their diet. They said, we should switch from selling insurance. Of course, insurance is important to us, but let's focus on a healthier you. Do you want to have an ambulance at the bottom of the hill, or do you want to protect a fence at the top of the hill? The ambulance at the bottom is downstream. The fence at the top is upstream. So in this case, with many businesses, they said if we move upstream, we have greater control of the value chain. We can, in fact, do better. Now, why would businesses do this? Again, most people don't like to be proactive. We're conditioned, we're trained to be reactive. We act after the effect. But to be more productive, to have a better product, we in fact have to be proactive. Now, to be proactive, we have to do a number of things. One, scan the environment. What's changing? Once we've scanned the environment, we need to look at alternative futures scenarios. Once we have our scenarios, we need to ask, where do we wish to go? The research is very clear. People want to work for purpose-based organizations that have a vision, that have a mission, that have a purpose. So they work harder, they prefer it. So where do we wish to go? Employees, stakeholders want to know, where are we going towards in 2020, 2030, 2040? If you're in there in 2015, you want to know, what do we want the future to look like in 2030? So we try to expand time. Now, once we have our purpose, we need to know, what's our story? Every organization has an inner story. In a project we did a few years ago in Bangkok, it was a huge NGO. They said, how is governance changing? They said the current story in Asia is serve the big man. It's based on the feudal worldview. As we did foresight tools and methods, we found out participants wanted to see the story shift to the fresh food market. The fresh food market is participatory, it's inclusive, it has many types of food. So they were saying maybe there's a shift in Asia going towards that. Even if there isn't evidence for that, clearly by 2030, we would like to see the shift from the feudal system to informational economy. Among the conclusions that came out is the story of Asia is changing. The old story was feudal-based. It was, in fact, the rule of the big man. We've seen waves of democracy throughout Asia challenging that story. Now, what might be the new story? The new metaphor was the fresh food market, meaning it's inclusive, it's participatory. To create that type of market, The role of the state is not to do everything, but basically to set the rules so everyone has equal access. So in this process, we constructed scenarios of the future, but the main goal was to find a new story.